Alrighty, my friends, so we are talking about Christmas 2020 yet again. If you recall, last week we started off by talking about Christmas history and how the history of Christmas and everything that led up to the birth of Jesus helps give it meaning and give it context, and how even for us personally, we can connect to the history of Christmas with our own history of our own lives and how important history is to the place how we got where we are today. So this week I want to talk about looking forward. How does Christmas involve looking forward? How does that help us get meaning into the Christmas season? So for me, I wanted to start, I was thinking about AJ, my son, is he's for those of you guys that don't know, AJ is it's our first. We have two children, so he's number one. He was born about 3.5 years ago now, the weekend leading up to Easter Sunday. He was actually born the Saturday, the day before Easter. And it's very, and I don't, for those of you guys that have younger siblings, I don't know how old you were when your when your mother gave birth to that child. But the birth process, oh my goodness, is... Well, one, it's very different for everybody, it sounds like. Or not everybody, but like there's a lot, some people, like it's just like boom, 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 you just go in there and this kid is just ready to go. That was not AJ. That was not our experience at all. Atticus was supposed to be born the week before Christmas, Easter, and was in no hurry. So we had to schedule an appointment a week after the due date, and we went in there. She had to be induced, which means like they had to kind of convince her body it was time to give birth. And there's a lot of good reasons for that, but it starts off real slow because they kind of like, well, let's just do this and maybe it'll just kind of start on its own, and nothing was really happening. So we were in there, I think we were in there for 3 days. In fact, I know we got in there on Thursday evening and we left Easter morning. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We were in there for almost 4 days, or at least parts of 4 days. And all of Friday, nothing much was going on. They did a couple little like things, but then nothing was really starting. So then Friday night was the night where it was like, then they started doing, they call it Pitocin, which is like I guess it's a drug, but it's like your body naturally generates Pitocin. So this like kicks it up, which really kicks it in, but then, oh man, that is rough on your body. Like Judy was not having fun with that. And then Saturday morning, it was actually time for like the baby was coming. It was that whole thing, but it was like he was not responding well, and they're like, what? Something's wrong with this baby. So they're like, maybe we'd have to do a C-section, which I don't know if you guys like. C-section is, I mean, they do it a lot, so it's not unsafe, but it's also, they would much rather it come naturally. Like if they don't have to do surgery, they don't want to do surgery. So anyway, that was going on. There was like a whole team of people that were like right in the room standing by just in case, and then it turns out when he came out, he had his umbilical cord wrapped around his neck 3 times, and so then it was like, oh, it was a whole big thing. And then finally he was here. And the funny thing for me is that, I don't know, in the movies, you kind of always see where they're like, oh, and I never thought I could love another creature this much, and it's so magical and amazing and stuff. I don't know about any of that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, it was our child, and like here, you know, this ordeal that Judy went through was so big, and all of that. But the challenge for me is that, you know, like those of you guys that have interacted with babies don't do a whole lot, especially when they're just born. They can't communicate. They can't even process. You can't communicate with them because they can't recognize what's happening. And so for me, it's kind of like, I mean, I'm used to dealing with teenagers and like talking and interacting, and I'm a talker. And so it's a little strange interacting with a baby. But it is that one thing that I think is so awesome about interacting with a baby is that you literally have no idea what this baby is going to do. Like their entire life is out in front of them, and there's an infinite number of possibilities of decisions that they could make of who they're going to become. You know, is this baby going to be president of the United States? Is this baby going to be a sports star or a movie star? Is this baby going to go to college? Is this baby going to get married? Is this baby? Who knows? Like the path is the potential is unlimited. And so for me, like that's what's so fascinating about Christmas is that you think about Christmas Day, like what actually changed when that baby was born? Like was peace on earth achieved? No. Was sin defeated? No. Was like, did families come back together and was there like everyone was celebrating God? No. Like a lot of that happened more like with Easter and will still happen the next time Jesus comes. But on that day, not a whole lot changed. But what did change is that it was kind of like there's this larger story that was just coming to a head. Where it was like, it's almost like the comparison, I don't know if you guys know World War II history, but like, if you know anything about World War II, D-Day was when the Allies started retaking Europe. They invaded Normandy, and like that moment was a very small thing on the grand scheme of things, but what it meant to the future of the war was everything. Very similar, I think, in some ways to what happened on Christmas Day. So what I want to do is to kind of look at that bigger picture, that bigger story. I want to look at kind of a different picture of Christmas that I don't know that we talk about a whole lot, and that's in Revelation chapter 12. So if you have a Bible and you want to hop to Revelation chapter 12, we're going to start right there in verse 1. Again, if you remember Revelation, this is John, the disciple, this is about probably 60 years after Jesus' death and resurrection, and the church is being persecuted and they're scared and everything. So God gives John a vision to share with the church about the end of the story. Like, this is what's going to happen, guys. And this is part of that in chapter 12. So let's start in verse 1, right? There you go, verse 1. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven. An enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 7 horns and 7 crowns on its head. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth so that it might devour her child the moment he was born. She gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter, and her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. The woman fled The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she will be taken care of for 1,260 days. Then a war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought back. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back, but he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, Now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah. For the accusers of our brother and sisters who have accused them before our God day and night has been hurled down. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much so as to shrink from death. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and to the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He is filled with fury, because he knows that his time is short. All right, so what's going on here? Well, again, this is a vision, so it's not to be necessarily taken literally. There wasn't literally a great dragon that was flying through the sky, or a woman with the, all that sort of stuff. But the bigger thing is this idea of like the physical reality versus the spiritual reality. And that we understand our physical reality. We understand the things that have happened historically, that we can go and look back on the different laws and the different rulers and the wars and all that sort of stuff like that. But the spiritual reality is something that's also important. Something where there is another reality, like beside our own. And this idea that there is a war in heaven going on over us, over our existence. And on one side you've got God and his angels, and on one side you've got Satan and the demons. Now we did talk more about this a year or so ago. It's not a fair fight. I mean, let's not say that you've got one God on one side, a bad God and a good God. Like, no. That's not what we're talking about here. God is one thing and Satan is a different thing. And even the conflict itself is still kind of difficult to understand. But to understand that there is so much more than just our physical reality we understand. So once you see Christmas, once you see that this war takes place with this child being born into the middle of it, it's like the beginning of the end of the war. Again, like picturing like D-Day, or like my favorite one is, for those of you guys that know Marvel, is in, Infinity War. Doctor Strange looks into the future and sees, 1,460,000, whatever, eventualities, and there's only one where they win. And so he starts manipulating events to get to that one eventuality. And he gets to that one point where, okay, this has gone on, and then he says, we're in the end game now, right? Same sort of an idea. When Christ came, that started into this end game. Like, okay, this is the final trajectory. Sin is on its last legs, as opposed to pre-Jesus. So what does that do for us? Who cares, right? What are we supposed to do with that, especially around Christmas time? Well, the biggest one is this idea of hope. And I think it's really important, like, what does Christmas have to do with hope? Why do we always talk about hope around Christmas time? Well, one, it depends on how you define hope. And I think that is pretty important, because what is hope is a pretty good question. Because there's three things that I think hope is not, or at least we use the word hope, and that's not what the Bible is referring to. So let's say, for example, you were going to say, man, I hope they cancel school tomorrow. Well, that's closer to this idea of wish. I wish they would cancel school tomorrow, right? So basically, I have no reason to think that this will happen. I only want it to. So that's not what the Bible is talking about with hope. Again, that's more kind of like wish. A second one is, what about like our hope? We hope there will be peace, right? So then it's like hope is like well-wishing, you know? We don't know if this is going to happen or not, but we want it to. So that's a little bit different, but that's still not quite the way that we use hope in the Bible. Third one is maybe like our only hope. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. A rain out is the only hope we have of winning this game. So it's the one thing that will give us what we want, but we don't know if it will happen. So if you notice, all three of these ways that people use hope involve not knowing. Now, the weird thing about hope in the Bible is that it's the opposite of that. It's knowing that something is going to happen. It's like, one definition that I saw was the desire and expectation of something in the future. And the difference there is that we do know the results. We do know the end. We do know what's going to happen. So it's not, gosh, I wish this would happen, but I don't know if it will. Instead, it's, I know this will happen. I really want it to. So it's both in some ways, desire and expectation. I both want it to happen and know that it will, which might sound like a contradiction. Why bother desiring it if you know that it's going to happen? But that's the point of hope. Combining those two, which I think for me, it leads to that important next question, which is, that one. Why do we hope? What's this question? Oh, same question. Okay, why do we hope is a pretty important question, right? And the Bible, talks about faith, and it says about believing in what we can't see. So the fact is, like, knowing that this is going to happen is a big deal, and some of us don't know that it's going to happen. Or some of us know it, but don't believe it, which is a weird kind of contradiction. But it's this idea that if we actually believe that there's something bigger going on, there's something bigger than our reality, then I think it does change a lot of what way that we approach things. So like, for example, did I lose my mic? Is that what? Oh no, it's right here. So for example, I was thinking about the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Do you guys know this one? I hope you guys do. I mean, there's been so many Grinches at this point. And, right, well, let me talk about that one in a bit. Okay, that's a great question, but or a great statement. But let me talk about the Grinch for a second. So, hopefully you guys have seen some form of the Grinch. I know they just did a live Grinch production on TV, which seemed a little weird. It didn't go over very well, it didn't seem like. There was that animated one a year or two ago. There's the live action one, which I'm sure you guys probably grew up with. My favorite is still the old school one from the 60s. And if you recall the story of the Grinch, right, is that the Grinch hates Christmas, and for one reason or another, one of them, he says he hates the noise, but his shoes could be too tight or whatever, the story is of why he hates Christmas. So he goes down to stop Christmas from coming. So he goes to Whoville and he takes everything away from the Whos, right? He takes away their toys, he takes away their presents, he takes away their food, he takes away their decorations, he takes everything away, and then he takes them up to this mountain, he's going to dump it off, right? When he gets up there, he looks back down at sunrise, expecting to hear just boo-hoo-hoo and crying and like, oh, Christmas is ruined, Christmas isn't coming, is what he's hoping for. And instead, if you guys remember the end of the story, the Whos all come out of their homes, join hands, and start singing. Welcome Christmas as we stand heart to heart and hand to hand is their little song that they sing. And then that's where the Grinch has his realization, is that Christmas perhaps means something a little bit more than boxes and packages and bags and stuff like that. And then his heart grows 3 sizes. Oh, such a great story. But here's my question for us, and that's why I think hope comes in to play here, is because I kind of wonder if we were the Whos in Whoville, would we react the same way that they did? If someone took all of our presents and all of our toys and all of our food and all of our decorations, would we still celebrate? Or would we say, well, there's no Christmas this year. Christmas has been taken away. Christmas is ruined. Because I kind of feel like that's exactly where we are this year. Is that for a lot of us, this is definitely going to be a very different Christmas. And we might not be able to do all the stuff that we would do normally. We might not be able to do all of the celebrations and to see the family and to do the, whatever we normally do. Did that ruin Christmas? Is Christmas gone and done? Or does Christmas mean something more than that? Is there something bigger going on than just that one day with the presents and the toys and the food and the decorations. Like, which one is it? Is there actually something bigger? And the answer, hopefully, should be this right here. It should be hope. Christmas should remind us that there is no doubt, there should be no doubt in the end of the story. The end of the story has already been written. We know that sin will not win the day. We know that death will be defeated. We know that the coronavirus will not destroy God, will not destroy God's plan. Even if the coronavirus rages out of control and hundreds of thousands of more people die, heaven forbid, we don't want that to happen, but God's kingdom will still come even if the worst happens. And we need to know that no matter how dark things get, that Christmas should remind us that the end has already been written. God is already there, and God is already in control. Let's pray. Father, thank you for Christmas. Thank you for the opportunity to remember that you are on your throne, that you are reigning, and that as dark as things get, we do know the end of the story, and that hope, that confidence, that inspiration that we carry, one, should be the bedrock that we place our lives on, but two, is something that, man, so many other people need to hear right now. I pray that you help us be those beacons of light, those beacons of hope, that when people are down and depressed and despondent on what's going on in our world, that we can be the ones that say, hey, we have hope. We have that hope, and we want to offer it to you. We want to share it. Help us share that hope that we have with those around us. Thank you. Be with us as always. We love you, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, my friends, please come join us on Zoom. I will see you there.